So I have this plant motif we're going to get started on. I had made a mistake here and got my brush into this leaf, not realizing I hadn't cleaned it after I made some colors. So I'm just going to come in here and cover that up. I'm putting a little bit of yellow in the background. This is a coconut. It's quite a bit of paint. Coconut color from my tropical set. You can make it with using like a yellow and a little bit of brown mixture. If you just have a yellow in your box, you can try to make like kind of a sandy tan color here. And then I'm going to just kind of drop that in. It's sort of a wet on wet technique. And I'm just depositing some of that green while that yellow is still wet. And I'm trying to cover some of the edge and leave some of it having that yellow on it, as you can see here, just for effect. So I don't want to do all of the leaves because that yellow will start to dry and it will not react the same way. If you get too much paint, you can always go and sort of siphon from the corner of your paper towel without pressing into your drawing. If you like the look of that, where you can kind of stamp some of it back, gives it a nice little texture. Those are a couple of choices. So we're going to come in here. This is starting to dry. So we want to work quickly here, depositing that. You can also come in and take a little bit of brown now and maybe right at the stems or at the tip of the leaf or on this line here, kind of just while it's wet. If you wait till it's too dry, it won't work. And we just tap in some water, it'll start to travel into the leaf itself. And so I will continue to put some of this coconut water, because the color is coconut and we're getting that water in there to be wet on wet, just kind of traveling up our drawing here. And I'm going to leave that one for now so that it doesn't interfere as we were getting it so wet. You really don't want to push a ton of water into here. I'm not pushing on my brush at all. But because the brush releases water as you touch it, it will release that pigment. And this one we want to be a little careful right at that small end so we get a nice point. And come in here like so. Now I've lost some of my pigment because it's kind of running dry here, so I'm mixing up some more and hoping I can kind of match the tone. That's why it's good to kind of move around your drawing, where you can do a few here and a few there, so that in case you run out of one color, it's not gonna look uneven in your painting. So I'm gonna go up. I already have that coconut down here, and that's gonna blend together. So we'll see what happens next with that. And you see how much that's dissipated already. So I think this photo reference, as a lot of my plants are and bouquets are, they're from like maybe Pottery Barn or Crate and Barrel or one of those places, was selling this vessel. And they have these great photographs of plants and flowers and things. So I like to use those because they're already sort of set up well for artistic license than maybe just a picture of a plant for the sake of the plant. I liked this one because of the asymmetrical look to it. And I just thought it was fun that it was diagonal. And you can practice doing little fine lines. Don't have your hand go down like this. As you pull toward yourself like a marker, especially with these little brushes I sell. And you can leave the black line or you can go over it with a very fine line here. And now, before that dries, I need to get a little bit of that brown in some of these. Now I've got these kind of edges here that I think are kind of fun. The watercolor edge. So if you want it to look realistic, you may want to get rid of those by just going along the outside with a clear brush and just blend some of that pigment so that it's not stark white. If you do too much, it'll start to make a new design or pattern in your leaf, so I wouldn't recommend that. And then up here, I didn't get into the tips of those plants, so I want to do that so that I don't have this weird deposit right at the end. I think they're running this way because the paper started to buckle a little bit. And now we have our vessel here. So I'm going to use this terracotta color that I mixed from tropicals out of some tiki and hibiscus. Now I just painted some of this, so I want to be careful that I don't get it into my wet paint here. And now that I've got that, I'm going to start doing a wet on wet, where I'm going to start depositing some clear water into my vessel and come up to this edge. And you see that releasing some of the pigment into that water. And it's starting to kind of eat away at that pigment at the top, which then when I deposit some paint into the water areas, are just kind of blooming and dispersing. And now I can come in and sort of add a little bit of brown and might pop a little bit of orange in here. Can wait for that to dry, and then it could be fun too to take a little bit of green and sort of pop a little bit of green in here. And if you want to do something that it's setting on, you can use a pencil. You can take this and kind of trace a line if you get it straight. You can actually kind of just come in here and give an impression of something, and you don't even have to go all the way out to the side, just like this. And you can always take a little bit of shadow then and put a little bit of that in here, which actually is too deep for that kind of vessel, so I'll take some of that away. And you can always come in with a little bit of that shadowy color here to give it some dimension. You can also do that on some of your leaves. And it's still a little wet, but I'm going to go right underneath this vessel. Give it some form and shape.